Just want to welcome everybody to another episode of Behind the Sweet Science. I am Chris, and this is Jose. We are one day after a little bit of a controversial fight between Abdul Mason and Albert Bell. Jose was lucky enough to be in the building again, back-to-back weeks. So let's get the recap on how the night went.
Yeah, no, we have the worldwide coverage, right? So
So,
if there's a fight in Australia, I'm going. Like, nah. But yeah, last night was electric, man. Abdullah Mason had the fight in at Cleveland State University in their Wolstein Center, and it he didn't sell out. I thought he should have sold out because tickets were relatively cheap for a local fight. They were like $50 for nosebleeds,
right.
and there were probably like four upper sections that just were completely empty. So I was like, okay. I it if any fight was gonna sell out there, this thought would have been the one since we had two world title fights on the same card. But I don't know. Maybe that Cleveland market isn't as big, but it was still a good turnout regardless. And like you said, we had that controversial stoppage from Mark Nelson. That's his name, the ref.
I believe so. Yeah, he's been around a long time. He's not terribly bad most of the time. I think he's usually pretty solid. But last night, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's easy to say it too that it was too early and this and that. But we're not in there. We didn't see exactly what the ref seen. So
Exactly.
I think Mason was closing the show the way he had to. He was catching him. Bell just started, getting hit.
Fading.
Yeah, he just
Yeah.
started fading. Right. He had a really good strategy in the beginning. He's not like a typically big puncher, so he was just kind of trying to score and just trying to get off and just land that straight right hand, which was landing all night. And then later, I mean, Mason just kind of found something. He dug down and he just kind of started letting his hands go, and he just started shooting that left hand, and he caught Bell. I think he stunned him sometime in the 11th round, and in that 12th round, he it was blood in the water for him. He just came right out and landed a big shot, put him down. One thing I didn't like the ref too, not even with the stoppage, because it's easy to say that, but I felt Mason was constantly. I don't know if you noticed from the seats, but he was fouling with the forearm, pushing off with the
Mm,
forearm, and kind of a little bit elbow going on, like the old Floyd Mayweather trick that he used to
yeah.
always use. But the ref didn't even, not even one time, didn't even warn him. I mean, at least give him a warning. I mean, it's a blatant foul. He's using it as a prop. He's not blocking with it. He's just jamming it. So
Yeah.
that was uh that was one mistake I thought he made. Another thing too, I know you mentioned where the fight was. I didn't know that the last big fight you guys had out there was Sergey Lahovich and Lamont Brewster in
Oh wow.
2006. That was a heavyweight world title fight. I remember a really good fight too. That was the last fight they said they had at that arena. So yeah, on TV it didn't look like it was too empty, but it definitely looked like there could have been a little more people in the crowds. But Fourth of July, I think that
Yeah.
was probably a mistake to put it on that day. But then again, a lot of people probably tuned in because the time you get home, you're at the family's house doing a barbecue, whatever. It was nice to be able to get home and watch them boxing. You know,
Energy definitely was there though. For the people that were there, it all felt like it was a personal relationship with Abdullah. Like
right,
it felt like everybody's little brother or little cousin up the street finally made it.
right.
And there were a lot of people that like were just in so much support for him. I thought there was gonna be a bit more support for Bell since he's from Toledo, which isn't too far from Cleveland. But there really wasn't. I think that probably was Bell's first time ever being booed.
Really,
They as soon as they like started introducing him, it was a ton of boos, and I was like, oh wow. And if you notice when Bell is being announced, he's like kind of smiling ear to ear because I that's why I think that's the first time he's ever been booed,
yeah.
or at least booed in like I don't know 10 years, because he's smiling and he can't stop laughing. He's like, wow, I'm actually getting booed. I've never seen this before. But something I want to commend Bell for during that fight is his hand fighting. I did not. I always knew he was a strong fighter. I didn't know that he could do his hand fighting tricks at that level of Abdullah Mason because Bell's been stuck at this club level for the last 5 years while being like number one. Like he hasn't been able to crack that code and fight any of these top level talent guys just because people don't want to fight him because he's awkward, he's tall, and he's lengthy for
Right.
the weight class. And he did a great job being able to every time Abdullah would come swinging in with a big lead hook, Mason would clinch, hold, turn him, and move. Or clinch, hold, moving around his arms, trying to gas Abdullah Mason out. But we ended up noticing that Mason is on a different level. He turned on that switch that round 12 as soon as he, like you said, he smelled blood in the water and he went after him and got him. I think Bell was going to get stopped, I think, regardless.
Right. Yeah. I seen. I mean, for me, it seemed like Bell just he kept just landing the straight right hand. He had the
Yeah.
perfect recipe for that southpaw. Just shooting the right hand down the pipe. Using his jab a little bit and switching up, even hitting the body a little bit. And he was kind of dominating. I mean, I know the broadcasters were big on to Bell's. They had him in the lead. I think it was 6-0 over the first couple rounds.
Yeah.
But by the way, not to throw any shots, but the Dazn commentary group is just absolutely god awful. I mean, I know I'm a little spoiled because I grew up watching the greats of HBO boxing with the Jim Lampleys and the Larry Merchants and Emmanuel Stewarts and all those guys, but the Dazn crew is just absolutely pitiful.
So I didn't see who was on the call last night, but I'm assuming it was like Sergio Mora, Abner Mares, and
Chris,
probably Chris Mannix.
right, that was the crew. And they had like three different fighter analysts, and they had some great fighters, but it's just like you don't need all that. They had Bud Crawford, they had Tim Bradley, they had who was the other one?
Sean Porter.
Sean Porter.
So
And
the thing with that is, this was the first like TNT deal, the first fight on TNT that like Top Rank and Matchroom are doing. So I think what they're trying to do is get a comparison to the NBA with they have the inside the NBA
right,
type of thing where they literally had the exact same setup and everything. It really, had you not knew it was a boxing match, you would have thought you were watching inside the NBA. So I think they're trying to mimic that and turn that into and have a boxing version of that. And I actually don't mind that. I think they're just trying to add more to the broadcast since now they're on TNT. They kind of have to live up to it.
right. I mean, listen, when you're the play-by-play guy though in boxing, again, I had Jim Lampley all those years. Even guys like Al
Yeah.
Bernstein were excellent. Some of the Showtime crews guys are really good. But when you're the play-by-play guy, I want to hear. I know what I'm watching, but I want to hear the play-by-play of the fight. They're just
Yeah.
all over the place with it, and then they were going on and on about the open scoring nonsense and who likes and who don't like it and what's the benefit of it, and it's just like, come on, man, like just call the fight, and then just kind of let it organically happen with the
Right.
fighter inside guys. Like, I don't think Moore is terrible, but I don't know. I'm not a fan of their broadcast. I know Dazin's taking over the game, so I gotta deal with it. I'm gonna be watching all the fights, but I think they could do a better job with that. And hopefully they get better because they're still a lot of them are kind of young with doing it too. So hopefully they improve over the next couple of years of doing it. Or maybe hey
Right.
they throw a lot of money at Jim Lampley. I remember when I seen him at Fatal Fury, I said that. I said, listen, they need to load up the truck and drop it off at your house and get you back in the game because boxing misses him. You know. But another thing I want to talk about, really, with Mason was, and I want to see if you've seen this too, was he was able to make the adjustments, and to me, that's what separates the world class fighters to the guys that are just high level fighters, right? So the first couple of rounds, he was losing. It just didn't seem like he can
Yeah.
crack the code. He kept getting hit with the same punch over and over, the straight right hand. And Bell just was doing enough. He's very crafty with like kind of staying out there and just again he's long, but Mason's arms I think were longer. But he just did a really
Yeah.
good job of like staying away. But I really like the fact that Mason was able to make the adjustments. And what were your thoughts being there, seeing like how it was like looking in the first few rounds, and then were you confident that Mason would make those adjustments?
I was not. I was just so surprised that Bell was able to do his exact fight. I think that comes with familiarity. So I think this is where all those sparring rounds that they had actually benefited uh, e- each other. Because had Bell stepped in to fight a different champion, I don't know if he would have been that confident to still fight his fight. I thought he would have been swamped or swarmed with whatever other opponent came to bring him. But with him already knowing how he's fought Abdullah Mason in many different sparring sessions, I think he was able to still be confident enough to say, "I'm going to stick to my game plan on what we know." On what works, since I've heard he's got the best of Mason in some of those sparring rounds. But no, like Mason, he started ripping the body a lot more like after that round 7 or 8, and just kind of took control of that second half. And that's where you saw Bell kind of fading off.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure this was Bell's first time going over 10 rounds
Yeah, they
as
mentioned
well.
that. Yeah. Yeah, Mason. The thing, and it's funny because he's only 22 years old, but it seemed like the younger kid was the one that had the experience because in the last
Yeah.
half of the fight, it was like he just he turned it up, and he knew what he needed to do, and it seemed like Bell kind of faded. You would think the experience would have favored Bell, but like you said, Bell hasn't really been the distance and had long fights, so I guess for him it was new orders and it hurt him, and it seemed like his
Yeah.
nose was pretty busted too. I think that was
I
bothering
think
him.
that came from a clash of heads a couple of times, and that's going to happen when we have those opposite stances
Right.
fighting across each other. I felt, and every time they were clinching, Mason was kind of getting Sean Porter-esque and kind of hopping
All right.
around, and
I'm
like you were saying with the
using the elbow.
forearm
Yep.
and headbutt, like not like intentionally. I think he was just very excited and
Right.
like overzealous.
Right. And kind of in the clinch, he was kind of like sticking his head in there where he didn't really have to, and that could have definitely played a part in it. But I don't know. I think maybe the nose being busted was from punches too, because again, Mason started
Yeah.
really landing at the end. But how was the crowd with like the stoppage? I'm obviously Mason was the favorite, but were they kind of like saying it was a bad stoppage, or it was more like
So
pro Mason
people
crowd?
were kind of confused. I People didn't boo immediately, and then I felt like I was the first person in the arena to react to it.
Right.
As soon as I saw the ref wave it off once, I was like, "Oh, he stopped it!" I start jumping up and down, and I hear crickets. I'm like, "How are people not
Right.
reacting to it?" And then they like do it even more. Like he goes like this again, and then people start getting in the ring, and then people start reacting to it. They're
Right.
like it was a mix of like weird kind of applauses, like to where people were kind of halfway clapping, and then some people you heard the booing, like the Toledo people. So it was like very weird mixed emotions. Like the people that were happy weren't too happy. They were
Right.
like, okay, that was weird, but yes,
Right.
we'll
Yeah.
take that.
Your guy wins, and that's all that matters. But the thing
Yeah,
that was weird with the stoppage to me too was he landed a good shot on the inside. I'm saying like when he actually stopped, not like in the beginning. He landed a good shot on the inside, and then Bell was like trying to clinch, and he was kind of like forearming him to the ground, and he went down
yeah,
from the push. It wasn't really from the punch. So I thought he was saying no knockdown, and then he looked him in the eyes and he stopped. You could tell Bell was a little upset about it, but again,
oh
I
super,
I
yeah,
think that it's easy to say that he didn't need to stop it, but again, we're not the ref, we're not in there. We didn't see exactly what he's seen, so I don't want to jump the gun and bury the ref too much. And to be honest, that was a 10-7 round probably at the point, and I think he stops him after that because to me it was clearly like I see one thing online it was talking about oh this is the Chavez and Meldrick Taylor thing, and it's like no it's not. It's nowhere near that.
yeah,
Mason started dominating the last 3 or 4 rounds. He won all those couple of rounds. He maybe scrapped a round or two early on, and then that's a 10-7 round right there. And he probably stops him because that happened in the first 20 seconds of the round. He was already down.
yeah.
15 seconds, I think it was. So it was a totally different fight than Taylor and Chavez, where it was like the fight was over. All you had to do was just go like this, and then the bell rings. So that's totally two different things. But another thing I want to talk about now we kind of broke down that fight. I do want to talk about the undercard too. Before we go to that, what do you want to see next with Mason? I mean, he's only 22 years old. The division is not exactly the strongest division. What would you like to see him do with his next fight?
So I think a unification would be great.
Right,
Like with him and like Morataya
right. I was
or
just gonna say
something
him.
like
Right,
that. That would be fantastic. Given Morataya wins his next fight, which he should. Um, yeah, I just kind of want to see him see if he can be the king of this weight class, since
right,
Shakur is kind of halfway in the weight class, halfway not in the weight class.
right,
So we kind of want that one king. Um, but yeah, the lightweight division is kind of weird right now. We kind of have a stalemate with Tank trying to figure out what he's gonna do
what
with
weight
him still
class?
being
Right, right,
champion, and with him being champion in recess, we have other fighters that have like that interim strap that can step up, like Javier Herrera. Um, but there's nothing really like too appealing, I feel like, unless we do bigger matchups at the weight class with 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 non-champions. Um, then that could get interesting. Like seeing a Mason versus a, I don't know, like a Schofield, like something
right,
random, right? Like if it's not a unification, then it'd be against some of those higher level guys.
right. I would like to see the winner of him, Lamont Roach and William Zepeda. I like that fight coming out. I think it's
Yeah,
August 1st, I believe. I'd like to see him get the winner of that. I think that would be a good fight. But yeah, there's not too many intriguing matchups up there for him. But hey, listen, if he's the king of the division, all you could do, especially at that age, just fight those top 10 guys and just clean the division up and just
yeah.
build that name up. And hey, he's really going to become a superstar if he rattles off a couple of big wins and then maybe goes up
And
in
beat
weight.
ex world champs. Keep building it up that way.
Right. Yeah, I like
Uh,
Abdullah a lot.
Before we move on to any of the next topics, I wanted to bring up, what were your thoughts on the post fight interview I saw on Twitter? I didn't get to, well, we heard him, but he had brought up, Mason had brought up that he felt like he could have got Bell out of there sooner. He
Right.
just felt bad. That I could not believe he said that. I was like, dude, are you serious? Like,
Yeah.
why would you even mention that? Like, what?
I mean, yeah, that's a little awkward. That's a little weird. I mean, he's a super nice kid. I remember meeting him at Fatal Fury, in Times Square. I got to sit next to him, and he's a super nice kid, super respectful. So I don't know. Sometimes I think there's a lot of emotions going on, and in these fights and stuff like that. And maybe just kind of said that for maybe his own self gratitude or something like that. I'm not
Oh,
really sure, but yeah, that was it's an interesting thing. But also a lot of times these fights like to make excuses. There's always something as, oh, why didn't you beat him? You should have looked better and this and that. And there's always, oh, I felt bad. Oh, I did this. Or he did this to me, and I could have stopped him earlier, but I didn't. There's always just excuses and
something.
stuff with them, right?
Always.
So let's talk about the two fights beforehand. I,
Yeah.
I didn't watch the other one. I didn't make it home in time for the other one, but I did get to watch Bruce Carrington. We could start with that one. And
Yeah.
and what I would say, Bruce obviously a local kid. I've been watching Bruce since the amateur days and know him forever. And he's a great talent. And it seemed like early on, right? It seemed like it was gonna be a typical Bruce character fight. He was doing all his shoulder rolling and landing the jab and his combination working, and he looked really good early. And then it seemed, I want to say maybe around 6 or 7. I don't know if you noticed this too, because again, watching on TV and being live, in the crowd
Mm.
is two different things sometimes. He got hit with a really good, I want to say like a left hook to the body, and it seemed to
Mm.
really bother him. And ever since that point of the fight, he just kept getting tagged with, punches over and over. And it seemed like he couldn't really make adjustments. It was a weird fight for him because, again, I expect him to win. He's been stopping everybody too, so I kind of expect him to dominate. And he didn't. He looked a little shaky. I don't know if it was just an off night for him or he got hurt with that body punch and he never really truly recovered. But what were your thoughts on the Carrington fight?
Yeah, he made a lot of people angry in Cleveland. I don't think he should ever come back to Cleveland.
Really?
As soon as the fight was, they gave him the decision, he's getting booed. I'm like, oh my God, these guys don't know. Like, this
Right.
guy's a world champion. I'm like, come on. I mean, I don't know. People were really upset with the performance, but Bruce kind of always fights like that. Like given he didn't have as much output as he might typically have, but I still felt he looked super sharp. His feints were working. His jab is still super
Right.
quick. Um, he was being a little gun shy with the right hand, which I thought the whole night he was kind of trying to set up, but he was being slightly gun shy on that. He was pop shotting a lot of the time in the fight, which is why I think people didn't really cared for him. He would sometimes drum roll on the inside and get a quick combination off, but he never really set anything off his jab. Like I never saw him do a double jab right hand the whole fight. The only times he threw more than 3 punches were in the inside. Um, but yeah, he made a lot of people mad, and also I think it was like round 11 where he like seriously got hurt with like that liver shot.
Right.
That I'm blanking on his name. Palacios? I can't remember this
Yeah, I think
guy's
it's
name.
you say Palacios, right?
Palacios.
Right.
Yeah, he threw that left hook to the body and just man, you saw
Right.
Shushu like wanting to get out of there, but he survived like the champ does. Um, I also have a feeling it might have been a tough weight cut because that guy kind of balloons up a lot in between weights. Like he probably easily gets up to 160. He's a kind of like a chubby dude, man, and
Right.
fighting at 26. Um, and in terms of what's next for him, I don't know. He's in a tough weight class to me. 126. There's a lot of firepower there. Like, it would be exciting to see him against that guy Espinoza. I would have to lean Espinoza. That's the 126
Right.
Fundora right now. That
Right.
dude is just killing folks,
Right. And according to BoxRec, he's the king at that division. So
man.
they got
Yep.
Espinosa up top. They got Brandon Figueroa, who's always, and there's another one who's just a massive dude for featherweight. So that would be a
Yeah,
tough
and
matchup.
he's a switch hitting pressure fighter. Like that is so hard to come by.
Right.
And this dude Brandon Figueroa will easily throw 1,000 punches a fight.
I was about to say he reminds me of a Margarito from back in the day, where he just kind
Oh,
of
yep.
lets his
He's a
hands
current day
go and just
margarita.
keeps going. I think a nice
Yep.
fight for Bruce next would be because I think those are kind of tough matchups for him. And again, he's very young too. I think Bruce is about 24, 25, something like that too. So I think he's
I think he's actually slightly older. I want to say he's like closer to 29 because he spent a
really
lot of times
in the
the
amateurs too. Right,
Olympics.
right, yeah.
Yeah, I just looked it up. He's 29.
20.
Yep.
Okay, so he's getting there now too. So yeah, he should definitely look to get one of those big fights, or maybe a
Yeah.
Nick Ball fight. I think would be a little more safer for him at this point. I like to see
And that
that.
would be exciting.
That'd be a good fight. He's got some height on him, so I think that would be a nice matchup for him. But and all right, so what about the other fight? I want to talk about
Tiger Johnson.
Tiger Johnson,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah. So Tiger Johnson fought Chris Guerrero, a guy who's never fought outside of Canada in his whole pro career and maybe amateur career.
right,
um, but no, Tiger's sharp, man. Tiger's good for 147. This was his first fight with Bomac, which was
right,
strange because Tiger has his own team, but I think since he's been training more and more at that top ranked gym, he's maybe been getting more eyes from Bomac in team, and now they kind of want to adapt and take him in. I think Tiger's going to be great for the weight class, though. He's coming off of a even bigger win, his last fight against Flaws, when he stopped him with a brutal knockout,
right,
man. And I thought his performance last night was good. I thought he probably could have got Guerrero out of there, but I was still impressed with. Well, maybe not impressed, but I was still sufficed um, with Tiger's performance in front of his home crowd, and the fans seemed to have loved the performance too. People were cheering. No, there weren't many boos. So.
right. The only knock I would have on Tiger Johnson, in my opinion, was I kind of wanted to see a little bit more of that killer instinct, and I just feel like
Mhm.
he knew he was winning the fight. The other guy couldn't really hurt him, and I just don't like when some guys just kind of sit back and kind of coast. And I felt like he could have pushed a little harder to try to get the stoppage. His jab was really good. Oh, something
Mhm.
happened. Yeah, his jab was working out really good, and his combination punching and he looked good. Again, I just hope that he could, especially if he wants to sell tickets and really become a big name, he's got to be a little more adamant about trying to stop his opponents and just trying to be a little more aggressive in there, And he's in a tough
Yeah,
division, so
I, lo- I love the Devin Haney call out like afterward. Well, Chris Mannix asked him about it, and then he gave Devin Haney a pretty good message,
right.
telling
Yeah,
him
they were
to.
beeping it out. I'm not sure why they're beeping out on a subscription streaming service,
Oh
but
well, he was cursing him out. Like
right.
we all heard it. We were like, oh shoot.
I could see that.
That and genuinely like being unbiased, that would actually be a really good fight between Tiger and Haney.
Right.
Um, they're both boxers. They they have like very similar styles almost, but Haney's at a different level. Haney, it would be I think competitive, but Haney would definitely pull it out.
Yeah, I think
And
at this point, yeah, I think he's definitely at a different level. Um,
yeah.
so we got the rankings of the. I put it down here somewhere. I don't know where I put it, but we had the rankings for the welterweights. Off the top of your head, can you name a few of the welterweight guys that maybe we can match up with Tiger Johnson in his next fight?
Oh well, one that's been cooking for like the past 3 years is him and Rohan Polanco. Polanco's out of well, he's from the DR, but
Right.
he's training with Hector Bermudez and where are they at? They're like in Connecticut somewhere. I can't remember. They're somewhere in the Northeast. I want to say like Boston area.
Okay.
That's that's been a fight that's supposed to been happen since they're both with Top Rank. They wanted to kind of see which one of their guys they're gonna push more for in that welterweight division. So I really still want to see that before maybe Tiger gets a title shot. Is him and Polanco. That way, Top Rank can kind of put all their eggs in one basket and say,
Right.
okay, this is our next welterweight great that we're going to invest in.
Right. We got Brian Norman Jr. I believe is also in that weight division, right?
Yes, yeah. So
Right.
that would be good for to set up the Devin Haney fight. So say Tiger Johnson fights Brian Norman, and hypothetically he stops Brian Norman. Now gotta fight him.
Right.
Now Tiger has a lot more, uh, to to negotiate with. Like I stopped the guy that you did beat, but I stopped him. I beat him better. So fight me.
Right.
So that him and Norman would be super. That would be a really good fight, and that would be great for the story. Um, I would even like to see him against like let's say like a Jack Catterall. That would be a
Right.
nice fight
The
to
lefty.
watch. Um, but the fight I definitely want to see is Tiger and Rohan Polanco. That's a
Right.
great fight.
That's a nice match. I know Rolly Romero's in that division. He has a title, I believe, too. So I would think most of the fight, even though Rolly punches really hard, I don't think the skill level is really there with Romero. So I think most of the guys would like to try to get that title in that division.
Yeah, well, everybody was gunning for Lewis Crocker, but then Paro was the first one to get him. Now Paro's the
Right.
champ, but Paro's a tough night for anybody. Like he can box really really
Right.
well. He's going to move. So if people want to target Paro, it'll be a tricky night. We saw Hitchens was able to adjust against Paro, but if we remember, Hitchens had a pretty rough like first 5 rounds.
Right.
Those first 5 or 6 rounds were like people could have said 4-2 Paro or maybe 3-3. Paro was doing great, but then Hitchens showed levels and adjusted well and pulled out that second half to win that fight. So yeah, I don't think Paro's maybe the easiest champ. It could be Rolly, but Rolly has some cracking power.
Right.
So
Absolutely. So yeah, it's welterweight's always been one of the best divisions. So it's good to see a lot of talent in that
yep.
division, and hopefully they can just start unifying, and we can get one king in that division. I still favor Ryan. I think Ryan is absolutely sensational talent. He messes around a lot and acts like a fool sometimes, but he definitely has some great power and some excellent speed. And I think he could become the king in that division if he ever kind of settles down and really starts taking the sport as serious as he needs to take it. Um, but one other fight I want to talk about before I let you go. I know you're short of time today. next week's fight. I believe it's next week, right? July 11th, I believe it is. Tim. Actually, there's a few fights on, but Tim Tszyu and Errol Spence. I want to get your thoughts on that. I want to see who you favor in that, and how do you envision that fight turning out?
That is a very weird fight to call for me myself. So there's, if I overanalyze it, there's a whole lot to go into.
Right.
Like Errol Spence being out for 3 years is a crazy layoff, but it's not anything we haven't seen him do.
Right.
Come off of a layoff and a crash and get a win. Um, and with Zoo, he's stayed consistent, but since that Fundora fight, he's looked flat and he's looked not like how we remember him,
Right.
almost being the boogeyman of that division. And since Fundora put like a chink in his armor, kind of exposed him, and then he got pummeled by Bakram,
Right.
and then his next fights after that didn't look great.
Right.
And I don't know where I stand with that fight, just because both of them have very interesting storylines right now, coming off of big losses. Zoo's stayed active, hasn't looked great. Arrow's not been active. We don't know what to expect out of
Right.
him. We don't know, for surely he's had to have fell out of the love for the sport even a little bit for him to stay out for 3 years. He had to kind of mini retire before he was like, okay, let me come back to it.
Right.
To get for even more details, though, it never looked like Spence blew up after the fight. He stayed like in shape, in great weight. Like I remember him posting videos of him running on the beach. The dude still looked shredded, like he could make weight the next day. So he never really ballooned up. And he probably stayed on top of his conditioning, I'd assume. So it didn't seem like he was really always out of the gym. He just didn't have the love for fighting at that moment.
Right. I don't know. I think Spence. I think he's past his time, to be honest. He's been out for a long time. It's been 3 years since Crawford handed him that beating, and even before
Yeah.
that, it's like I think he fought twice in like 3 or 4 years, something like that.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a little too much. And you're right. Tim Tszyu has definitely been exposed a little bit. He gets hit a lot. He's always in a fun fight. I like watching Tim. I was a big fan of his father growing up. And
Mhm.
I think it's going to be an interesting fight. I know, and usually, Australia, they have their hometown guy. They show up big time. So I'm not sure what time it's going to be on in the states, but I'm definitely going to be tuning into that. And I favor Tim Tszyu. I just think it's going to be a little too much for Errol Spence. I could see it being like a decision or maybe even a late stoppage because Spence and like you said too, though, Spence has had these layoffs before and came back. And I remember after his, I think it was the accident when he fought. To me, one of his best wins is against Udani Ugas, which I thought he looked really good that night, and that was a very impressive win. So he could definitely do it. And Tim's a guy who gets hit a lot, so it's an intriguing matchup. Like you say, it's two different type of styles and two different type of fighters in different kind of times in their careers, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. So. But I favor Tszyu for sure. I think
Mm.
he's going to pull it off. So if you had to make a pick, who you picking in that one?
Zoo's gonna bring it, man, and off of a layoff too. So I remember in that Ugas and Spence fight, Spence kind of lost his mouthpiece and kind of forgot how like boxing works, and you can't just take a timeout. So he just,
Hmm.
I remember Ugas knocked his mouthpiece out his mouth. And he just kind of turned around and was like, "Oh," like lollygagging around,
Right.
and then ended up getting hit again, which should have been called a knockdown. Tell the truth. Um, so with that being said, I might have to lean Zoo as well, just because there might be like another scenario like that where Spence kind of forgets, like, oh yeah, I can't lollygag around in the ring or
Right.
anything like that. So I'd probably have to lean Zoo. This dude stayed in the gym. He stayed being active. You have to favor him. You
Right.
have to.
Yeah, I haven't seen the odds yet, but I'm guessing that Zoo is probably a slight favorite, maybe like a 2-1 or something like that. But
Hmm.
yeah, that's also the same day as the Anthony Joshua fight, I believe too.
Mm,
I don't know why we need to see another comeback fight with a guy that's been boxing since he's 10, 11 years old and has all sorts of amateur credentials and been fighting pro for well over a decade now. So,
yeah.
but I know he had the accent and stuff. So, but I'm interested in seeing what he's gonna do out there, and hopefully we can finally get him in Fury after that. So.
Hopefully, I pray. I pray. I
Uh,
pray the boxing gods answer.
But all right, I think we could put a cap on today's episode, and I just want to say thank you for joining us again, and enjoy the rest of your day, bro. All right,
Likewise.
all
All
right,
right.
take care.